everyone, this is Dragon Veos, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a segment of Romance Month. Or more specifically, I'm going to talk about interesting concept I'm going to put in for Romance Month called From Cringe to Enduring. This is a certain video type that I'm going to do in regards to explaining of how certain relationships in fiction have evolved from something cringe and unlikable to something that's enduring and over time. For this one, I'm going to discuss about Helluva Boss's more controversial relationship and how it's kind of evolved over the past 2 seasons, and hopefully will get better later on in season 3. That's right, I'm talking about Stolitz, and I'm going to go over some of the ups and downs of a relationship, and yes, be warned of spoilers. Without further ado, let's begin.
Mark, I swear to you are so cute when you are serious.
I'm literally gonna be.
Garnet, a little help, please?
Yikes. They are really bad for each other.
Yeah, that's basically how it started off in season 1. It felt like Stolas was caring less about Blitz's feelings and wanted nothing more than to go with romantic getaways and such. And of course, with Blitz, he wanted nothing to do with Stolas, but he felt like he had no choice if it meant having the grimoire for his business. So yeah, well, this pairing definitely raised a lot of eyebrows, and we weren't even sure which direction this was gonna go. This felt like some sort of pairing that was doomed from the start, and the only turnaround was finally in Ozzy's, though it was hinted later on in Truth Seekers and Harvest Moon Festival that Blitz does have some sort of attraction to Stolas, though it feels a bit more on a physical level at the time. It wasn't until season 2 and Ozzy's is where things start to take a turnaround in their relationship. In Ozzy's, this is where Asmodeus, the sin of lust, finally called the two out on their relationship, though it was probably in the worst way possible. But at the same time, it was kind of a much needed wake up call that everyone needed, including Stolas, in terms that this was not a healthy relationship. No relationship should come with strings attached, especially if you have feelings for that said person. And of course, even Blitz goes as far as saying that they don't have anything between each other and that it's only just going to be transactional there. It doesn't exactly help that poor Octavia was kind of thrown in the mix. So, in terms of that thought process for Blitz, along with him dealing with his own personal issues, this was definitely a recipe for disaster. When we reach season 2, namely the circus, this is where we slowly begin to unpack the origins and Blitz and Stolas as a character. So it all began with Stolas' birthday, crazy it was, and plus this was when he was a little kid, all eager to learn about his responsibilities that he would have when he grows up. Unfortunately, one of them involves having a precautionary heir with Stella. Oh boy. After that revelation, he was so depressed that the only way that Paimon can handle him was take him to a circus. Well, which was definitely half-butted because of the fact that he only went there via a mirror. By an ironic twist of fate, that very circus was where he met Blitz, the one person that he finds some attraction to. And even when Blitz was flopping on his performance, Stolas was the only one who ever really laughed at his jokes, even if they weren't the best. This signified something in Paimon, and he decided to get Lil Blitz to actually go and be his playmate, even if it was for a day. And of course, Blitz was tasked to a very dangerous mission of stealing stuff from the Goetia so they could have enough money to live, which also gives some harsh reality about the imps in general. 25 years later, after the two reunite, they definitely had changed a lot. And it's also there that Stolas was in an awful marriage, and the only joy he ever had in that marriage was Stella. And yes, I understand that the circumstances for that is not the best at the moment, especially at the tail end, but I'm not going to erase the fact that this was the only time he ever felt genuinely happy whenever possible. And as Octavia grew up, Stella became a bit more menacing and draining on Stolas' life, up to the point where he needs happy pills just to function. And as the series continues, on Stolas' side, we get to see that he's just emotionally immature. I mean, part of it was because he's always had his life planned out, taken care of for him. It wasn't like he had to think on his own 2 feet at that point. He had to do what everyone says, no questions asked, no rebellion whatsoever. And then in comes Blitz, coming back into his life after 25 years, who's already gone through so much in his life. The loss of his mom, going through one relationship after another, and somehow failing it in more ways with details that I'd rather not know. So, yeah, you definitely feel bad for these two for very different reasons. These two were broken in their relationship, and it was still unhealthy even as the series progressed. But as it continued towards the apology tour, we definitely see that the two are starting to learn a little bit more about each other. In Seeing Stars, Stolas gets to see that Blitz has some issues going on and that he has some personal demons that are kind of sinking into Blitz's skin. And as for Blitz in Western Energy, he learns that Stolas isn't as mighty and powerful as he originally thought. And of course, as they begin to peel away each of their masks and their personas that they keep in the public, they soon learn that there's still a lot they don't know about each other. But the ultimate kicker was Apology Tour, when after their nasty breakup, and of course with Full Moon, this is where they finally broke up officially, but with the most heartbreaking words that each of them had.
Fuck you, Stolas. You spring this feelings bullshit on me. Are you fucking kidding? Can I get a fucking minute to think after everything you put me through, you pompous, rich asshole? Treat me like one of your little butler imps? You can't just dismiss me like that. I mean, you royal fucks think you can do this every time. Like you can just play with our feelings because we're smaller and not as important. Well, I'm not letting you, bitch! Let's go! Blitz, I think so very highly of you. I didn't realize you think so low of me. Goodbye, Blitz. Stolas, wait!
As a result from this heartbreak, Blitz tries to make amends once again, but probably not in the best way possible, and their communication was once again broken by the class system in general. So there definitely was a lot to go on with that. By the end of Apology Tour, when these two finally talk again, Bliss decided to let Stolas have his fun and be with other people, which I feel like was the healthiest choice that Blitz could have, not having to force an apology and just force a relationship in general. And of course, when we get to Blitz's side of things, we definitely see that he's just going through a major mess. And of course, having to let the words sink in. He was coping in Ghost efforts, but not in the healthiest of ways possible. Eating ice cream, buying stuff through overindulgence. Yeah, that definitely was a sign that he had a major crash and burn. He was just reaching the lowest point in his life of just hating himself and believing that he would just make his lives worse. Thankfully, Millie was able to snap him out of it, and it wasn't until Mastermind when these two were once again back together, but once again in the most unfortunate circumstances. However, this was also the biggest point in Stolas' character. Not only did most often he does say I love you, but it feels forced or doesn't feel realistic. However, when Stolas went as far as sacrificing his power as well as getting himself killed in the process of trying to take the blame for what was all happening, even if it was partially his fault that Blitz was in that situation, it didn't change the fact that Stolas wanted and valued Blitz in ways that maybe his previous partners couldn't. As a result, Blitz finally sees him. Sees him for who he is and what he's meant to do. And in return, Blitz returns that affection full force in the best way that he can. While it still is a little edgy at the moment, especially towards the tail end of Sinsmith, you could definitely see that their relationship is reaching some sort of maturity. They're not an official couple by any means, but one of the best quotes that Stolas had was,
It was a lot, wasn't it? I know you can't see your kid. And I know you did so fucking much just to save my life.
It's okay. Saving you was the right thing to do. And you have risked your life for mine in return. You don't need to feel any guilt for my situation. It was my choice. It was all my choice.
that is by far the most mature thing that's ever came out of Stolas' mouth, along with the whole divorce concept. This is Stolas finally realizing that he made some very crappy choices, and now that he has to live with those consequences. And I also love the fact that he isn't putting the blame on Blitz and reassuring him that Blitz made the right choice of helping him, as well as Stolas was more confident that what he did wasn't in vain. So I really hope that in season 3, this is going to allow their relationship to evolve more into a more healthy and enduring one. And I am hopeful that at least they could finally get into a decent relationship. So these are my thoughts, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think will happen to Stolitz? Please do a like and subscribe. This is Dragon Vios signing off.